Our brain is an amazing organ. In fact, it is the most complex organ in the whole human body. A home to 100 billion interconnected neurons, the brain is the central control system for which the rest of the human body is regulated. Our brain forms new neurons throughout our lives, and the connections and functions in the brain change as well. What we do day to day influences our brain's function, and we can participate actively and consciously in the rewiring of our brain. The brain's ability to rewire itself as a result of life experiences is called neuroplasticity. These alterations in the brain system range from small changes in individual neurons to drastic changes such as cortical remapping, when brain functions are not assigned to certain regions of the brain but are remapped and can be expressed in other areas of the brain. Before this was discovered near the end of the 20th century, scientists thought that the brain only developed in a critical period in early childhood, then remained unchanged throughout adulthood and for the rest of the individual's life. The case of Jody Miller well exemplifies neuroplasticity in the brain. She started having epileptic seizures just after she turned 3 years old. The seizures were all coming from the small electrical explosions that flared up in the right hemisphere of her brain. She soon lost control of the left side of her body, and it seemed as if the doctors had their hands tied. The symptoms showed that she had Rasmussen syndrome, a degenerative brain disorder that disrupts the electrical activity that makes our brain work. As the seizures threatened to turn fatal, the decision was made to remove the right hemisphere of her brain through a procedure called hemispherectomy. What happened to the space the right hemisphere once occupied? It filled up with cerebral spinal fluid once the right hemisphere was removed. But how could she function normally? This spectacular feat is due to the brain's plasticity. The brain can change shape, creating new connections between functioning neurons to replace lost and damaged ones. This allowed Jody's left hemisphere to take up tasks for which her right hemisphere was once responsible. Another case where the wonders of neuroplasticity are at work is with a 43-year-old woman who had her right arm amputated just above her elbow. In this example, cortical remapping occurred in response to the amputation. Cortical regions that represented her right hand pre-amputation became responsive to stimuli from the facial region post-amputation. For perspective, the facial region is adjacent to the hand region in the motor cortex of the brain. In essence, she had the sensation of someone touching her phantom hand at certain areas where her face was touched. But how is this possible if her right arm did not exist anymore? The brain is known to have a sensory map of different body parts. In this case, plasticity was demonstrated when the part of the map that represented the amputated limb was taken over by representations of other body parts, like the face and lips, resulting in phantom pain. So what can we do with this information other than treating individuals with illnesses and conditions? One of the more mundane applications of neuroplasticity is the much advertised brain exercise. There are plasticity-based programs that target specific brain machinery to improve function, such as higher-level thinking and deeper focus. Some of these programs boast extraordinary results as radical as improving the lives of schizophrenics and halting the progression of mild cognitive impairment and early Alzheimer's. Another way to use neuroplasticity to your advantage in your daily life is to do ambidextrous activities, those that engage both the right and left hemispheres of the brain, to practice whole brain thinking. Juggling and playing a musical instrument are good examples of ambidextrous activities. Many aspects of the brain can be altered or are plastic even through the adult life. The cases of Jody Miller and the lady with the amputated arm are fascinating ones that depict the role of neuroplasticity in our lives and enlighten us on the mystery of the human brain.